Welcome to the Fearful Fright series, where we will be reading with our favorite green ghoul, Grimmer. Now sit back and enjoy this twisted tale. Today our story is called The Island That Ate the Sea. The ship was called the Meridian Star, a rusted cargo vessel limping across a stretch of ocean no one on board recognized. The route had been changed at the last minute, storms to the north, the captain said, but the sea here was calm in a way that felt wrong. Too still, like it was holding its breath. There were 7 survivors when the ship finally died. Evan Holt woke choking on black sand, lungs burning, ears ringing with the echo of tearing metal. The smell of salt and something faintly sweet filled his nose. He rolled onto his side and vomited seawater, then forced himself up. The shoreline curved like a grin. The sand glittered faintly, as if ground glass had been mixed into it. Trees loomed beyond the beach, tall, thin, spiraled strangely, their leaves hanging limp and soundless. No birds, no insects, no wind. One by one, the others dragged themselves from the surf. Marisol Vega clutched her ribs, eyes wide and alert even through shock. Caleb Wright trembled uncontrollably, whispering apologies to no one. Ruth Calder swore under her breath, already scanning the tree line like she was hunting a headline. Jonah Pike laughed shakily, too loud, too forced. Lena Morris immediately began checking everyone for injuries. Thomas Reed stood apart from the rest, calm, hands folded, watching the forest. The ship was gone. Not broken, not sinking offshore. Gone. Instead, debris had already begun washing ashore: crates, rope, torn fabric, pieces of wood. Too neat, too convenient. Marisol noticed it first. She frowned at the tide, then at the supplies lining the beach. "That's not how currents work," she said quietly. Ruth lifted her camera and took photos of everything. They found footprints before sunset. Bare human feet, many of them. Pressed deep into the sand, leading both to and from the trees. That night, they built a fire. The wood burned easily, but the smoke carried a scent that made Caleb gag. Sweet, thick, uncomfortably familiar. As darkness fell, the forest filled with shapes. Not moving, just standing. Watching. Evan took first watch. The silence pressed in on him, broken only by the ocean's slow rhythm. Somewhere in the trees, voices murmured together in low, steady tones, not quite words, not quite singing. By morning, Jonah was gone. His shoes sat neatly beside the fire. The island revealed its people on the second day. They stood at the edge of the trees, men, women, children. Thin bodies marked with scars. Their eyes were dark and unblinking. Their mouths stained. When Ruth raised her camera, they vanished instantly, retreating into the forest like smoke pulled backward. "They're waiting for us," Caleb whispered. "They know we can't leave." Evan didn't answer. He had already noticed something worse. Every time the tide came in, more supplies appeared. Barrels, planks, rope, even part of an inflatable raft. The island wasn't trapping them. It was feeding them just enough to keep them alive. They worked to build a raft, hands blistered, nerves raw. Hunger gnawed at them constantly. Lena rationed strictly. Ruth argued. Caleb snapped at shadows. Thomas stayed calm, helpful, smiling softly whenever panic rose. Too softly. On the 4th night, Ruth disappeared. This time there were signs, drag marks, broken branches, disturbed sand. From deep in the forest came a sound that made Marisol scream and collapse to her knees. It wasn't screaming. It was chewing. The next morning, Thomas was gone too. Evan found him by accident, frozen mid-step near the trees. Thomas stood among the island people like he belonged there. He spoke to them easily, laughed with them, ate with them. When he noticed Evan, he lifted a hand in a gentle wave. They never forgot, Thomas said calmly. Out here, you don't pretend hunger is shameful. You accept it. The island people moved forward as one. Evan ran. Only 4 were left now: Evan, Marisol, Lena, and Caleb. They finished the raft under the watchful eyes of the forest. The chanting returned at night, closer now, louder. Shapes circled their camp without hiding anymore. At dawn, the island people came. Not rushing, not screaming. Just walking. Caleb broke first. He ran toward the trees, sobbing, begging. They caught him easily. Lena tried to pull him back. She didn't return. Evan and Marisol shoved the raft into the surf as hands clawed at their legs, tearing skin, dragging them back toward the sand. The water swallowed the noise as they escaped, the island shrinking behind them. The sea accepted them too easily. Days passed. The sun burned. The nights were freezing. At times, Evan felt something brush the raft from below, slow and deliberate. On the 3rd night, Marisol finally spoke. I've read about this place, she said quietly. Old logs. Ships that vanished. The island doesn't stay in one place. It drifts. Evan stared into the dark water. Something large passed beneath them, just visible. They were rescued on the 5th day by a fishing vessel. The crew stared at them in disbelief. You're lucky, the captain said. No one comes back from that stretch of water. The island was gone from the horizon. Weeks later, while under observation, Marisol walked calmly into the ocean one night and never returned. Security footage showed her smiling as she stepped into the waves. Months after that, Evan received a package. No return address. Inside was a small vial of black sand. And a note, written in careful, familiar handwriting. The island needs storytellers. It helps us remember. That night, Evan woke to the sound of waves breaking. Even though he lived far from the coast. And something, very patiently, was waiting for him to come home.